Good afternoon, War College. I hope everyone enjoyed the lunch and the beautiful weather. It's now a distinct honor to introduce our keynote speaker for the afternoon, Admiral CNO Gary Roughead. He's a 1973 graduate of the Naval Academy. He's had 6 operational commands, including USS Barry, DDG-52, and USS Port Royal, CG-73, the first officer ever to command both classes of Aegis ship. As a flag officer, he commanded Cruiser Destroyer Group 2 and the George Washington Battle Group. He also had the distinction of commanding both the Pacific Fleet, that one of our favorite graduates, Admiral Nimitz, commanded, and he also commanded the Atlantic Fleet, another one of our favorite graduates, Admiral King, commanded. So he's had all the great jobs that there are. He's also served as the Chief of Legislative Affairs and as the Deputy Commander out in PACOM in Hawaii at the Joint Command. He became the 29th Chief of Naval Operations on 29 September 2007. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CNO, Admiral Gary Roughead.
Thanks, John. Thank you. Thanks. Well, thanks, John. Thanks for the introduction, and it's so good to see so many here this afternoon, and also so many good friends from times past. I'd like to thank John and his staff for making the Current Strategy Forum possible. I thank all of us who have any dealings whatsoever with symposiums, fora, realize that there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So John, thanks for all that you did and that of your staff. You know, I normally come to the Current Strategy Forum and stay for the duration because I really do get a lot out of just listening to the great speakers, the great panelists. The questions, quite frankly, are some of the most insightful that I receive. So I do like to stay for the course, but regrettably, there's some things going on back in Washington, and it's always good to be around the table, particularly when they're talking about your budget. I like to do that. And then I'm off for some international travel here, but I know it's going to be a great session, and again, I thank you all for coming. It really is a pleasure for me to return again to the Naval War College, the term that I use, the Navy's home of thought, in what is my 4th and final Current Strategy Forum. I think that it's fitting to come together at times like this to return our focus to something that all seafarers consider fundamental to their daily lives, to their plans and preparations, and indeed to how we see the world. Energy, where we get it from, how we move it, how we use it, indeed how we even reuse it, and how far it takes us in the pursuit of America's objectives is a topic that I think we cannot afford not to engage on. I'd like to thank the Navy's Task Force Energy and the work that they have done since 2008 when we formed that task force as a result of what we saw in record oil prices that gave us a glimpse into the vulnerabilities that are inherent in what I think will be ever-rising fuel costs. And I'd like to thank the leadership of that initiative, some who are here today, Vice Admiral Bill Burke, who leads the primary organization under which we've chartered Task Force Energy. Clearly, Rear Admiral Phil Cullum, who I was with this morning in Washington, as we recognized our Navy commands for their environmental stewardship, and also Rear Admiral Dave Tetley, who's our oceanographer of the Navy, who has really changed the discussion and the debate on how we in the Navy and indeed nationally are looking at energy and climate issues. But this discussion that we've had as a result of Task Force Energy and Task Force Climate Change has really changed and benefited greatly from the Secretary of the Navy's advocacy of energy since he came into office a couple of years ago. And I think it's a discussion that continues on today in the context of considerable budget pressure for all facets of government, something that urges awareness and active participation on our part so that we may continue with the aggressive initiatives to which we remain committed and which gain relevance as the scope of this pressure that we're going to face becomes clearer. The Navy's leadership in this discussion is at once a reflection that we, perhaps unlike any other service, live in the interplay between natural resources and their global strategic consequences, and also serves to emphasize how considerable those consequences stand to be for a maritime nation that aims to lead through and well beyond the tests we face today. We in the Navy view security through the lens of energy and understand implicitly that our access to energy sources we use today, oil and gas primarily, is anything but guaranteed. We're well aware that the supply is not always going to meet demand, and developing trends promise new sources of conflict as they relate to energy. Limited access to fresh water, dwindling agricultural yields, overfishing, mass migrations, and climate change will continue to stress the global order just as energy resources become more dear. And this will pull us in several directions when we rather might have more space and time to address America's dependence on imported resources on our own terms. We watch these trends with a sense of urgency because they affect the Navy's energy future, but also because we believe wholeheartedly the future will need our Navy. I spoke here last year of international order as the indispensable factor in global prosperity and peace, and how the Navy serves to guarantee the benefits we derive from a globalized world in which tangible goods, resources, or the electrons that facilitate the exchange of ideas and commerce in a digital age move on the world's oceans. To the extent that those benefits are more prone to disruption and disorder, the uniquely diplomatic and preventive aspects of sea power will come to be better recognized in more nations. More will see that there is good we can and must do from the sea, and that we are thinking anew about how to sustain our contributions globally. As we lay out our potential investments in national security and make decisions affecting the Navy of the future, we must take a realistic view of that future and ensure a dominant fleet continues to provide the foundation for the type of American presence, involvement, and credibility the American people require. With more than 65,000 sailors and about 40% of our Navy deployed globally on any given day, our Navy maintains America's forward presence, engages with partners, and provides offshore options in ways only naval forces do. The Navy's small footprint offshore and flexible range of capabilities gives our nation attractive options to influence events by assuring, shaping, responding to crisis, and employing force when needed.